I am going to read from new work. I just want to provide a content warning. I've been working on this project for over a year now, and maybe a couple years. It's about the murder of my father's mother when he was 10 years old, and the sort of generational, the trauma of that event, but also the generational grief sort of left in its wake. So there are references to domestic abuse and violence. It's not too much, but I just wanted to say that. I'm going to read the one that I'm going to read first. I'm going to read first because it's the most difficult for me, and it might be the most difficult for you. So here goes. And the only other thing I'll say is that this first one was one of the first pieces that I wrote, and was inspired by the fact that when I started to do research for this project and decided that I really wanted to go for it, I could not find a headline for this tragic event that happened. So this is called Missing Headline. If it is missing, it must be said, it must be read in a headline. I searched for a headline I couldn't find. It must be bled through the sheets ghosts are made of. It is the mud memory is made from. It is delivered to the world by orphanage, by distance, by train, by disconnection, by track, by brick, by the sun winking dumbly against the coarse crystalline edge of a brick just before bloodied, and just as dumbly against every blade of grass it finds itself lost within, dropped without a thought or a dream. It is a headline, like Little Rock woman murdered, like 7 kids left behind. It is mother murdered, father in prison, 7 kids left behind. It is 7 kids to be sent to Southern Christian Children's Home. It is after young mother murdered, 7 kids sent to orphanage. It is 7 kids left behind after mother murdered, father in prison. It is man kills sister-in-law with a brick. Kids sent to orphanage, their father, the murderer's brother in prison. It is kids falling deeper into the dark places the maps don't show, the places not found in the legend, until they grow those places themselves, until they shape the symbols they need to find their way out of them or inside them, to curl up beside them, to know how difficult it can be to grow up, to grow away from this. It is growing anyway, it is laughing anyway, and loving anyway, and having their own kids anyway. New ghosts, new memories, new mud, new bloodied sheets, new bricks. It is old and new bricks mortared together. It is the brick, any brick, that brick my father always bit down on, would have somewhere inside his mouth when he said anything at all. This coffee is cold, brick. You have to try harder, brick. I'll pull this car over, brick. I have a voice like Elvis, brick. Don't you think, brick, when I sing, brick? I'm moving out for a bit, brick. Not long, brick. A month or two, brick. Maybe, brick. I have to get back to the county line, brick, for more booze, brick. Show me your karate moves, brick. Come on, fight back, brick. Come on, fight, brick. I'm sorry, brick. I wasn't there when you were a kid, brick. I'm sorry, I left, brick. I'm proud of you, brick. Take the dog out, brick. We all went to that shithole, brick. That hellhole, brick. I'm sorry, brick. I'm sorry, brick. My family is fucked up, brick. I'm sorry, brick. I'm brick. I'm brick. That is terribly hard to read. This is called Under the Sun. If a person is murdered most often by a person the person knows. That's what the experts say. The experts can't be wrong, right? Meanwhile, the sun says nothing, is a white dot lobbed over any city. Meanwhile, a prison is any city's darkest flower. Meanwhile, any ex-lover paroled can become a person murdered or a murderer. Take the corner store clerk, for example, who never spoke or smiled, who watched or who didn't watch others enough, the cameraman, your optometrist, a drunk father, the lifeguard at the community pool, an acquaintance staying too late at the party. You get the idea. Here, try this. So, 2 bricklayers walk into a bar. Stop me if you've heard this one. One a murderer, one not. I don't know where the joke goes from here because I don't know any jokes about murder. I wish I knew how to say all this without sounding so phony. What's the thing people say? You can't make this shit up. Okay. Here it is then. My grandmother was murdered by her brother-in-law. She knew him as a father of 6, bricklayer, her husband's odd brother who rarely spoke, never smiled. How could she know he was a lover of a secret guilt, or that he often sat alone outside her house gripping with gloved hands the wheel of his 67 station wagon? Let me begin this way. Larry was his name. 1970 was coming to an end. He was pissed off at his brother, back in prison for beating his wife and nearly killing another drunk at the bar. Why wouldn't his sister-in-law leave him? Larry listened to his thoughts. They took him to the corner store for a bottle. They took him inside a night that swallowed the sun. They found me here, decades later, saying nothing about what followed my family after. A traditional story of exaggerated consumption. For decades, my father ate bricks for breakfast. It was hard to watch, the process obscene. This was no magician's trick, this a necessity, this a job. This was the most important meal of the day. Waking meant having dreamed meant fever, meant sweat, meant the memory of his mother murdered with a brick. The memory of his mother murdered with a brick meant stumbling down the hall from that dream into morning. Morning meant the brick waiting for him on the kitchen table, like a misplaced toy, like a hat in a horror movie, like that and like the alloy of absence, like irony. In the beginning, he built miniature houses. In every corner of our house, another house. It was hard to learn to live among the clutter. He had to eat the bricks for breakfast, he decided. We had to go on living. He acted as if he knew it would always come to this. Every morning, a brick for breakfast. Soon he could read the morning paper without gagging. His oatmeal left untouched beside him, he'd scrape the brick down. Sometimes he took the brick with him if running late, maybe to meet coworkers at McDonald's before a new construction job. His Egg McMuffin waiting in front of him, like a sob, like a difficult question, like an unwrapped gift. Eventually, he split town for good, decided to stop eating the bricks. On one drunken night a decade before, he told of a city inside him, a city that loved the bricks, that lived for them, that held grand ceremonies and sang songs as they arrived, a city that was nothing without him. Now, wherever he is, the bricks keep piling around him, a city that grief builds. Now, wherever he is, I am searching for any sign of him. I have my flashlight, my provisions, his name lodged like a brick in my throat. Elvis impersonator. Only in the car, only leaving or arriving, my father sang like Elvis. Any stretch of road longer than a song, the ghosts swarm the streetlights. Trauma, tangled nests in the trees. Every corner, a corner where his fear and shame huddled like orphaned siblings around barrel fires no one saw. First, in the rear view, I saw his green eyes drift toward mine as he backed out of our gravel driveway. Beyond the wind chill's cracked glass, a blue house growing smaller on its hill. The radio already on, after a few practiced flicks of the knob, he'd lift a scrap. Whatever slapdash pop hit suited him. No matter what it was, he turned it into Elvis, because my mother loved Elvis. I knew nothing haunted that house, its path of loose gravel coughing dust, deep blue like a voice finding the king's baritone, alone like eyes in a mirror of trees. I knew it like I knew his palm would lift from the wheel, the sound of the slapdash, a gesture designed for his wife to lend an ear. I knew it like I knew myself in the back, searching the rear view. There's my baby brother beside me, plump, his breath bubbling spit. The radio's cranked, the old man's leaning in, Springsteen's pink Cadillac, somebody tempting somebody. And just like that, his silence like a house on fire. Decades later, I'm driving to get my mother from the airport. My daughter asks to ride along. The window's down. We blast Lady Gaga. Soon enough, I'm singing slowing every word of Poker Face to a blue baritone. Behind princess sunglasses, somewhere adrift in the rear view, my daughter's eyes searching for mine. Thank you. Just have a couple more. So my daughter's name is Finn. She's turning 10 in a couple months. So she's in this one as well. This is called Hunting for Haunted Houses. Finn asks if we can go. Looking for haunteds, she calls it. I've had enough coffee to say yes. I've listened to the right music, and the rain has promised to meet me on the bridge to the past. I know. But really though, it is going to rain. Soon the clouds will begin their strangeness of folding in half the distance between memories and ghosts. I don't mention this. Finn finds her new toy, grabs her coat. 5 minutes and we're hunting. She enjoys these little drives. We always take our aging pug. He rides in the back with her, his tongue hanging out, fat and pink, like a baby eel. Finn likes knowing how to feel. A haunted means a door is left open. It's as simple as a cracked window, peeling paint. Sometimes you can tell a lawn wants a feral fog to snake through it, wants you to imagine it happen. Almost always there's a second story, at least two, obvious attic above. The usual jaunt through the usual neighborhoods, none seem right. Here, too many cats curled and too many tulips. There, the absence of cats and tulips. Then she spots one, she knows. 3-story brick, attic window cracked, white lights strung over shutters since last Christmas. Front door standing slightly open. Dim inside, like a lie you tell yourself you never told. In the rear view, Finn's eyes are all aflame. She's proud of her find. Before long, I start to feel shitty about our little game. We know nothing, really, about the ghosts that do or don't drift through the walls hidden beyond the walls we can see. But neither of us are ready for me to end this, to tell her what's made me stranger. She asks if the haunted has a basement. Now she tells the dog that we don't have a basement at home. I don't tell her that every haunted has a basement, even if it doesn't. We hunt down another. So this is my last poem. Thank you again for coming. Traditional story of exaggerated conception. I've lived inside my father's past, a child in a small town. I've come to rest. I've gone in silence to the deserted square, my teeth bare to my own shadowless steps. I've studied the midnight flickering of lonely streetlights. I've rubbed my back against the beams, to dream of shedding, to seeing my becoming, to skin myself against the ghost of hands that led me there. But I never entered the forest at the edge of town. If you're wondering, of course I haven't, because I know a crown of wounds waits. See it happen? To brave the forest is to discover I was born there. In other words, do I have to say that I'm afraid of everyone? Tell you that I'm afraid of myself the most? Avoiding the feigned howl of the forest, I stroll over crushed pianos on sleeping lawns, every broken key. I shake the sleeping trees. Between the branches, sibilant whispers on my father's lips. Every syllable, another crushed piano. His mother, her murder, louder now. His mother, her murder, and again, her name. He says her name. Any tree at night knows her name by heart, knows mine and knows his, knows it like lights strung from a porch. Their burning bulbs are enough to know someone is home. My father is there somewhere. I am here somewhere. We are nowhere, everywhere.